So Skadi is back over on the NA version of the game for the Road to Lost Belt 7 Part 2 for, well, Lost Belt 2, and I wanted to run a little bit of defense for why it may be worth summoning for the regular caster Skadi, but then also maybe run a little bit of interference for why you may want to save for, say, summer. So we're going to go over all that and more in today's video. Or well, should I say one of today's videos, because we just have so much going on that your boy has to double upload. So if you like FGO content, make sure you're leaving a like on the video, subscribing, maybe even hitting that bell and dropping your thoughts in the comments down below, because there's a lot to talk about. So the main argument you're going to see from people telling you to not summon for Skadi is that Quick is really bad and it's not meta, which technically Quick is not meta. If you look at the definition of what meta means, it means most effective tactics available. And by that logic, yeah, it's not the most effective. That would actually be Buster. Because even though Castoria is really good, not every art servant can just plow through the 90 plus content or even the 90 plus content that we're going to get in the future later on this year. But Buster really doesn't have a problem getting through that, especially if you're using Buster comps with Oberon. Although once you start throwing Oberon in the mix, that kind of makes everybody a very effective tactic, because even right now on the JP version of the game, you can use Black Grail farming with Oberon with your Quick setup. So Oberon does kind of throw a wrench in everything as to what is the most effective, because everything's really effective when you have Oberon and Black Grail. But again, if somebody says that Quick's not meta, technically they are correct, but that doesn't mean that it's bad or not usable. If you were to say make a tier list of the most effective tactics to use in the game, Quick is still very high up there. You got to remember that it's not just Buster, Arts, and Quick farming. You have a lot of other ways to farm throughout the game, whether it comes to just raw battery farming or just running in there with your face cards like you did as soon as you downloaded the game, not really having a clue what is going on. And while running in there with face cards is kind of a meme, it's not really an effective tactic. Something like battery farming kind of is. I mean, that's what I did when I started downloading the game. I ran in with Arash Wave 1, Lancelot Wave 2, Gilgamesh Wave 3. And that was pretty much how I carried myself throughout the entirety of the game until, well, I got my own Castoria, because I did not pull Skadi during the Skadi meta. So I had a very cry about it moment during those 2 years. But we're not talking about my sob story, we're talking about why Skadi might actually be worth it. And sure, the farming that you can do with Quick doesn't really allow you to do the 90 plus nodes, but as I'm going to show later on in this video, you can get away with it. Because it's not like Quick units don't loop well enough that you can't bring them to 90 plus nodes, especially depending on how the node is kind of built or how good or how much NP gain your specific Quick unit has. And so it's not to say that if you do summon for Skadi, you're never going to be able to do quick looping. In fact, going through Ordeal Call 2 right now, I'm just using quick setups the entire time because I'm having a lot of fun branching out and using servants I don't normally get to use. But if someone tells you that you can't do quick looping, no, you'll be absolutely fine. There are still very powerful options that exist for the quick meta. People like Lancelot got a bit better with that third skill buff, giving him the 100% NP gain, although even though he is a more low rarity option that is available on every banner, you do want to get higher NP copies of him. But you also have people like, say, Atalante, who have very high NP gain. The only problem is that her first skill is only for one turn, and you do want to kind of save it for the last node. But as long as you have a higher NP enough copy and you can clear waves 1 and 2, she's absolutely fine. Parvati is an absolute godsend as a lower rarity unit that you can use if you don't have, say, someone like a Tai Gong or an Edmund Dantes. Or maybe you didn't get the Summer Okita Altar. You know, these units that are going to be very, very good at quick looping, you do have very solid low rarity options, although maybe not as free-to-play friendly as, say, someone like Habitrot, who's just in the friend point gacha, although I still know a lot of people that are struggling with the Sir Nunos fight, so maybe that's not as real for them. But we also have good free-to-play options, say, like Kichi Hogan over there, who's not the craziest, but you can still use her fairly effectively if you don't have anybody else. It's not like there aren't options and you're never going to get to use your quick looping servants. But again, I can understand that you got to put a little bit more brain power into using a quick looping on a 90 plus node, because the actual setup is going to really matter as to how you tackle it. But that's the same if you're going to use a Castoria setup. You're going to have to kind of plan around whether it's a 1-2-3 node, a 3-2-1 node, whatever have you. You're going to have to plan around for Castoria anyway. It's just maybe players feel that the options that you have for Castoria are just a lot better because you have people like Space Ishtar who can effectively be whatever you want, but often is used with arts farming because the last 2 years we had Castoria, or Summer Kama who came out, who's a very good option. Even Berserker Masashi, who I showed in some of the team comps for the latest 90 plus Lotto nodes, can actually do that without a battery because her NP gain is so insane. But it's going to be the same thing. If you want to do quick farming for 90 plus, you're going to do the same exact thing you're doing for Castoria farming. It's just Castoria as a unit is a lot more broken than someone like Skadi, which, go figure, a support that comes out 2 years after the other support is going to be a lot better. But even worse than that, Castoria was way too overtuned because we still really don't have a unit that's nearly as good as her. The closest unit is maybe Koyenskaya, but even then, Koyenskaya doesn't enable all the things that Castoria allows you to do. So not exactly Skadi's fault, more of an actual power creep problem for FGO, but I digress. I think a massively overlooked area where quick units are actually really fun is the single target options. Because as I was able to just rattle off a bunch of just really good AoE arts units, the amount of single target quick units that are insanely fun to play with and are really good, there's a whole smorgasbord of them. You have MHX Alter, you have Tyra, you have Maid Alter, you have Skahawk, you have MHX, you have Okita. Medusa Saber is going to come out next year, and she's a lot of fun. Maybe Astolfo Saber's not everybody's cup of tea, but I find them very fun to use. You even got Izumo, who just came out. There are a whole smorgasbord of these really insane and very fun to use single target quick units that I think go overlooked when it comes to Challenge Quest content, because yes, technically, Koyenskaya does the exact same thing that Skadi wants to do. They really both offer next to no survivability. At least Skadi has the NP, but you're probably not really going to see the NP as you're mainly going to be doing quick chains. So just treat it as though they both really have no survivability, but Koyenskaya at least at some point allows you to loop your skills back, which Skadi doesn't let you do. But the same core gameplay loop is really just there, except with even more crit damage, because Koyenskaya is only going to be giving you 50% specific buster crit damage, but Skadi turns around and says, I'm going to give you 100% quick crit damage to allow you to go mow down some people. And the amount of damage you can do is kind of hilarious with Skadi, especially as we start to get ruler Skadi. But I guess that does kind of get into the issue that I was talking about towards the beginning, where I might run a little bit of interference for Caster Skadi over here. I think the main strength of going for her is if you want to run into CQ style content, because realistically, Ruler Skadi and Caster Skadi kind of have the same gameplay going into Challenge Quest. They both just kind of dump their buffs on somebody and let them go Hamtaro for 3 turns. But at least for Skadi, she actually synchronizes with the quick buff she gives. I mean, sure, Ruler Skadi gives you 65%, but as opposed to normal Skadi only giving you a 50% quick buff, but at least Caster Skadi gives you the crit damage buff for the card type buff you're getting. For some reason, Ruler Skadi gives you the 100% buster buff, which is nice in the cases of, say, Okita Alter, because then effectively you have 100% crit damage on 4 of your different cards. But then, you know, Ruler Skadi also just has random bells and whistles you really wouldn't want on your quick units. Like, she generates stars every single turn, which might be nice if you're using maybe a servant in the future that can swap between quick and buster. Maybe when they're in their buster form, they can't gen as many stars, but we're gonna get the quick update this anniversary, so it's even easier for quick units to gen a metric butt ton of stars. I don't know why the new quick support is giving you even more stars when there's nothing you can do with them, which maybe during next anniversary when they do the second quick buff, maybe you can crit on NPs, or they'll have a way to cash in on extra stars. If you hit 100 stars, you get some secret buffs, then maybe Ruler Skadi starts to be way more insane. But I would say if you're going to summon for Caster Skadi because you want to do quick looping, that's fine. Maybe your favorite servant is Tai Gong. Maybe you want to use Space Ishtar as a quick looper for some reason, or you really like Summer Okita Alter, whatever have you. That's perfectly fine. But I would advise you, if that's what you want to do, wait for Ruler Skadi to come out, because Ruler Skadi giving you that 65% quick buff, the same 50% battery, but then giving you an attack buff that carries into all 3 nodes, as opposed to a defense down that's only usable in 1 node, is going to be more helpful if you want to do quick looping specifically. But if you do want to use a lot of the single targets and you want to try to 3-turn, min-turn a lot of these different challenge quests, then you really want to go with Caster Skadi, because Caster Skadi definitely makes your life a lot easier with that. Just nuking the enemy's defense, giving you the quick buff, and again, can't stress enough, an actual crit damage buff that synchronizes with the card buff you're gonna be using. It's super, super helpful. And I was kind of ragging on it as we were kind of talking throughout this video, but if you do use, say, a quick servant that also is rocking double arts cards, you could actually see Skadi's NP, and in some cases, it can actually be fairly useful, because a lot of people forget that her NP is actually really good. They meme on it because you really don't see it, because again, you're probably using a servant with triple quick cards, or they have double quick, double buster, and only one arts card, like say with Melt Lilith or something. So you're not really getting arch chains to really get her that NP. But if you're using someone who has double quick, double arts, you will actually start to see your NP and you'll see that it's really good. Yes, the insta-kill immunity is very niche. When it does come up, it's super helpful. Think about all the people that brought Skadi to the Hassan boss fight whenever they were like, oh, insta-kill, let me go grab Skadi immediately. You know, it's kind of a meme until you actually need it. Then it's all of a sudden really, really good. The one hit of evasion, yes, it's not as good as Castoria's one hit of Solemn Judgment, or it's not as good as Merlin having an AoE invincibility skill, but at least it's some type of survivability, unlike, say, Koyenskaya, who just gives you more damage. And again, not a comparison between Skadi and Koyenskaya. I'm not dumb enough to make that type of argument, but at least it's something. But then she also gives you a pretty good reward for going for higher NP copies. Not saying that you should go for higher NP copies, but if you do really want to use her going into CQs, getting that 20% to up to 30% attack buff for 5 turns, and then getting the crit damage buff that goes from 50 to 100% for 3 attacks for 5 turns is also not nothing. That's really, really insane. That if you do get dupes on, say, GSSRs, or you're just a huge Skadi fan, you know, you're like, I gotta get my mommy Skadi in my Chaldea, then you at least get rewarded with very strong buffs. But even at the worst, it's a 20% attack buff that you'll probably loot back, again, if you're still doing your arch chains. Because her own NP gain is not bad. She has 0.67% NP gain on double arts cards that have 3 hits a pop with a passive 12% arts buff in and of herself. That can be very, very strong. That can be very good. And then if you bring a DPS that further buffs, say, the entire party's, you know, arts card performance, or brings NP gain to the table, it makes it that much easier. So don't overlook Skadi. I'm not saying that you gotta go out of your way to summon for this unit, otherwise you're a big dumb dingus, but I am asking you to consider her. But while I'm also asking you to consider, think about what you want to get out of this unit, because if you want a looper, you might as well save for Castoria, who's coming out in a month or so for the 25 million download campaign, or if you specifically want to do quick looping, maybe just wait for summer, because Ruler Skadi does the looping thing a lot better. But if you want to go into CQs, or you want to do the triple Skadi system, then make sure you bag yourself a copy of Caster Skadi over here, because you definitely will see some value out of it. It just seems to me that a lot of the people that really rag on Quick have never even attempted to use it, or just write it off completely because it's quote-unquote not as good as the other 2 card types, which, sure, you can be not as good as the other 2 card types, but still be good in and of yourself. I mean, Skadi can't be that bad if I was still able to do quick looping without my own Skadi during the Quick meta. If Quick was really that abhorrent and wasn't able to do looping because you needed double Skadi, I have 2 years worth of experience that beg to say otherwise. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you are going to be summoning for Skadi, let me know if you pulled her. Hopefully this was some kind of good luck for you to be able to pull her on the banner. Again, you do not have to go for higher NP copies. I was more just making the argument that if you do have higher NP copies, you at least get something out of it. In the same way that you go for higher NP copies of Castoria, you're getting huge attack, and you're going to get up to 50% attack for 3 turns. But with that being said, I will go ahead and catch you guys in the next video. Peace, late guys.